We weren't even told any information that after 6 months the drugs will affect her. They just kept insisting that the solution is, and you know you can't ask questions that time because the doctor, like, we assume he knows what he's doing. They assured us that she'll be fine. But now another condition came up called aspergillosis, which is damaged lungs. Her lungs were already damaged. They had holes all over. So she had to start now another treatment. Would use like almost 20,000 per week because you have to keep refilling the drugs. So eventually, she just stopped walking. She was using Pampers. It was too much to see. And even for her, she was so embarrassed when they were changing her. She even used to tell her sister, just go kidogo, mom, to finish changing me, then you come back. She was just damaged, basically. I was bitter at some point. I was asking God, see, I could have miscarried. At least I could have healed a long time. But watching your child becoming a woman, then just going, she's been plucked out, it was just too painful. My full names are Maryanne Njambi. I'm 44 years. I grew up in Nairobi. I was born in a hospital called Ninawamubi. It's in Dwaru Road. It's actually in Nairobi. So after that, we moved from Buruburu to South B and now to Waiyaki Way, around ABC place. I have 4 sisters, girls. So we are 5 girls and I'm the third born. So we grew up with both parents, but they passed on. My dad passed on in 1997, my mom in 2015. We actually went to the same schools, all of us. So we didn't even need any female friends because like 5 is like too much. Okay, when I was expectant, it was an interesting journey, and thank God I didn't have any complications. Everybody was looking forward for me to deliver because I was the first child to have a baby in our family. Even the dad that day, I remember the month I gave birth, he was like, "Ay, this child is staying." He took me for a walk. We actually went for a walk, CG, from our place to like Westlands. But we came back by car anyway. So the next day I actually delivered. And it was so exciting for everyone was waiting for that baby. So in my mind, I'm looking like, this is so much fun. And I had fun breastfeeding. That was my best moment because it's a bonding moment. You're actually locking your faces together. She's holding you. And then I had a lot of milk, thank God. She actually breastfed for 2 years. So it was a nice journey. I was looking forward to doll her up, to dress, like sometimes twinning, taking photos. I loved taking photos. But those are the things she didn't like. I later discovered. So I let her choose her path. But it was so exciting hanging out. It's like having a friend throughout. So it was a very exciting journey. So when she was it 15? Yes, when she was 15, she started having health issues. It started with a cough, actually. So she attended a church camp, which lasted for 1 year. After that 1 year, she came back home with a cough, which we took lightly, and we treated it with drugs and antibiotics. After that cough, like a week later, she developed oral candidiasis, which are sores on the lips and the tongue and throat. We took her to a hospital where she was admitted. And then after being admitted like for 3 days, during the admission, they did all the blood tests, kidney, they checked everything. And they assured us that she doesn't have any underlying conditions. So she was discharged, she was fine. Then in a month, things started like just falling out of place. She drastically lost weight. You can imagine a 15-year-old who is like 40 kgs. So we took action. We were told to do a sputum test and x-ray. The test revealed like she has lung TB. So we started the TB treatment immediately, which lasted like for 6 months, day after day. Visibly, you're just seeing bones. You know, all the meat was gone, so she was just like a skeleton. So she was just and then there's still a cough, but she couldn't remove it, but you're hearing like her chest is wheezing, it's congested. So those are the signs mostly. And then she couldn't remove sputum. It's like it was just based on in the lungs. My reaction when I heard that she had TB, first of all, I was happy that it was discovered what she has. So I was happy that we are treating what is there. So that's when we happily went to a TB center. And then we were expecting that, of course, that she'll get well. Because even when you visit the center, you'll see other people ailing from TB. You know, it's a TB center, these government centers. So they are giving you their testimonies that I got well after 3 months. So you're hopeful, you know. You're hopeful she'll also get well. So we continued like that. And during the treatment, you actually go for it's called what? It's like a review, like every 2 weeks. So you see they're telling you positive things. Oh, she's okay, she can continue. Before they prescribe more drugs, which you used to go for them every 2 weeks, they would tell you just continue. So you see you're trusting them, then you do as they say. You don't even question. So in those 6 months, she continued. We still continue to go just like so that they can check up on her. Sometimes there was some weight gain when we go. You see like she's gained 1 kg, 1.5, 2 kgs. You know that is exciting for someone who has TB. So they just advised us on diet basically because she was still taking the drugs continuously. But in her mind, she was despairing. She was like, what's happening to me? And I didn't have the answers. But the doctors used to assure her, you'll be okay. We've had these cases, so just continue with the drugs. Basically, change your diet, stuff like that. So we were very hopeful. So she's just continued, and she was just told, don't stop. Like when you start, if you stop, it's like starting all over again. So I had to make sure she's taking them throughout. During the treatment, she adjusted, like we reduced movements because of course the stigma outside. When you're underweight, people assume you have HIV. So many people are staring. You know, most of the people, they can kill you before you die. You won't die of the disease, but you'll die of the stigma. So she was insecure. Of course, she was very insecure. And then for school, we had to do homeschooling because she couldn't cope. And then sometimes you see her chest is in so much pain. She couldn't do a lot of movements. So basically, the stigma is the one which would affect her mostly. Like she goes outside, she says, there's a lady who laughed at me. People are asking me questions. What's wrong with you? You know. So I had to encourage her and tell her, you're beautiful, you'll get well, God is with us. Such things, just encouragement basically. And just to tell her, we are with her. We are walking with her in the journey. She's not alone. At that time, I was working in my 8 to 5 job, and I used to take a lot of offs, to be honest, because sometimes you're like, hey, she's in too much pain. And at that time, I'm the one who used to take her to the clinic every 2 weeks, because if you miss one visit, it can ruin everything. So I had to make sure, like, she's taking that medication and she's visiting as required. And then it also, with the 8 to 5 job, that's when it affected my performance because I was missing work a lot and then I couldn't concentrate so well. Yeah, but I always put her first actually. I put her first. Like I can't go to work and my daughter needs me. So I used to divide my time. I explained to the boss. Then I just had to spend time with her. I was ready for what will happen. But my priority was my daughter. As a mother, I had so many negative vibes from outside. Now, you know, I had delivered her with a Congolese. So many people were saying that she's cursed, she's a sacrifice, you know, such things. But I chose like not to let her know. But in a way, you know, you can hear it too much and still until you start believing, you know. So I don't know. I can literally not say what was going through my mind. But that was the thing I kept hearing. Amerogwa, you know, because it wasn't normal. She grew up healthily up to the age of 14, then all of a sudden at 15, you know. So that kept going through my mind. And at the same time, I don't know what else I could think about, but that was ringing in my head because of people. You hear it from more than one person. So you actually almost believe it. For her, In fact, she just believed in God so much. And her mantra was, God is there. So you're seeing, like, the person suffering is not complaining and she's not abusing God. You know, vile tunaambiwa, you just neglect that God, he's not there. She kept saying, God is there, God is there, and she's the one in pain. So that kept me encouraged. Oh, she believes in God, fine, and why not? Why shouldn't I believe in him also? So that's how we lived every day. Because at that point, she was also holding fellowships. She was putting us together, making sure at 7 sharp, 7 p.m. you're done with everything, we are holding a fellowship. So she used to quote Bible verses. She encouraged us to do thanksgiving, ask for forgiveness. Like she asked you, what are you grateful for today? You know, so the walk with God was encouraging at the same time. Yes, for her, she knew God a lot. Even when she was healthy, a bit healthy, she used to seek to go to church camps, retreats, like that. She had attended another retreat. She used to attend there in Nakuru. It's called Wendo. So whenever I used to have transport, I used to support her. She goes, she said she sought God a lot and she found peace there. So I said, why not? I support her where I can. We were actually looking forward to the 6 months to end. But unfortunately, bad news came. After the 6 months, we were told the TB relapsed, meaning it came back. So we had to continue for 6 more months. I remember that breaking her so much. It really broke her. Because the drugs were not taking her well. She was complaining like she's feeling dizzy, she's feeling like vomiting. In fact, they made her weaker. But when she had, like, we're going to continue for 6 more months, it broke her, but we had to keep her telling, just continue. The doctors told us to continue. After the 6 months, obviously we were excited. Like, yes, we are done. But when we visited that clinic, it was heartbreaking. And the words the doctor told us is that, unfortunately, we have to continue with 6 more months. They are not working. It's like she was resistant to the drugs. So they said, you have to continue I think they changed some drugs. They were saying, these ones are not working, we'll change them. But they were still TB drugs. We weren't even told any information that after 6 months the drugs will affect her. They just kept insisting that the solution is, and you know you can't ask questions that time because the doctor, like, we assume he knows what he's doing. So we weren't told that if she continues with 6 months, there will be side effects, they'll damage her lungs. So we just took the other drugs and she started afresh. It's like starting afresh. So we continued like for a total of 1 year with the TB drugs. It was very heartbreaking and she didn't take it very well. In fact, I remember her crying and she was saying, me, I'm not going to take these drugs again. But she didn't stop and we pushed her. We told her, it's for your own good and we are here. When you need us, we are here. So just continue. We really begged her to continue. She didn't take it quite well. So she continued until now 1 year was over, a total of 1 year. So between 15 years to 16 years, she was on TB drugs. Yes. So after the 1 year, now they were like, when we went back, they were like, something is wrong. You need to seek a chest specialist. So we were given contacts. We sought for the chest specialist. This chest specialist now gave us other news. Like, you have holes in the lungs. You're like, wow. We didn't take it very well because we were like, after the 1 year, they assured us that she'll be fine. But now another condition came up called aspergillosis, which is damaged lungs. Her lungs were already damaged. They had holes all over. So she had to start now another treatment. The damaging of the lungs was a result of overuse of the TB drugs. You're not supposed to extend the 6 months. So this took a lot of consoling her, comforting her, and telling her there's a reason for all this. Just be strong. Now we had to start afresh again with another condition. Now we were treating aspergillosis. The TB drugs damaged the lungs. So the TB was not there. Now it's aspergillosis. And then now you're managing the disease, you're not treating. Because it's too late, the lungs are damaged. So it took now another phase, visiting the chest specialist, changing drugs, and she had to take drugs every day. So you see from 16, drugs throughout. Now aspergillosis drugs, which were very expensive. You see, like now we are moving from TB treatment, which is free, to aspergillosis drugs, which are very expensive. Would use like almost 20,000 per week because you have to keep refilling the drugs. She was also under an inhaler. So you see, it took a lot of, it drained us mentally, mostly. Our mental state was not at a good state. Now it was another tough situation, but at least we felt comfortable. Like now, we are dealing with a chest specialist who is handling her personally. It was her own chest specialist. Another unfortunate thing is that she had an insurance, but they denied her cover. NHIF could only do the CT scans and the x-rays. So now we had to dig back into my pockets. I used some savings. Her dad used to chip in sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who was left with her. Because actually the dad relocated to the UK. He stays in the UK. So he wasn't so reliable. You see, you need to handle the situation immediately. When the drug, you see, it's the last drop, you even refill it before it. Because it's a continuous process. You have to keep refilling the drugs. Zikiisha tu hivi, you buy immediately because it's continuous. So it really damaged a lot of things, mental state, financial state. But we were looking at her health most importantly. And all the visits to the chest specialist were positive. Because at this time, by the way, she had gained some weight. At least we could go with her now. She was a bit... And at a point, she was using steroids so that at least she can look a bit big. The doctor wasn't, at least it's like the doctor was looking at her self-esteem. So he knew they will damage her eventually, but he's doing like what he would do to a teenage to be accepted in the society. Nini. It was damage control, so she had to handle her physical appearance. So that's another prescription again, steroids, and now the drugs to at least, they tried to cover the holes. There were so many. So they were dealing with covering the damage. They reached a point that I had to seek help from my church for financial support because I was running out of savings, and then the dad, sometimes we lost communication. So when I sought help, at least they chipped in for the drugs, and the friends, sometimes they used to buy her food, the diet and everything. So I felt at least relieved that I'm handled well spiritually, because I felt the church and the group was praying for us. My sisters sometimes came through because they are not that well off, but at least what they had, they would support us with food, prayers. Sometimes they would also help me buy the drugs, and just being there. If I'm not there, there's a sister who used to like come and look after her when I'm at work or something. So I felt like emotionally supported in a way. My lowest moments were the side effects of the drugs, I would say. There's a time I was at work, and then they had gone to the supermarket with my sister. Then she passed out. She just fell on the floor. So basically, of course, my sister wouldn't tell me or call me because I usually panic. Like looking after her left a lot of trauma. So she passed out. And then there's a time she passed out in the house. Yani her eyes are wide open and she's dripping, but she's breathing. Then I panicked. I was like, I'm trying to call her. But later, we took her to hospital and she was put a drip. We were told it actually, her brain was almost dead because of diabetes. Now you see we are being told she has diabetes, her blood sugar, CG, what. But thank God they revived her. When she came back to life, she's like, where am I? She's crying. You know, she was so emotional. So watching her, she's like, where am I? What happened to me? So you're starting afresh, like explaining to her baby, you passed out in the house, you couldn't. And then we even carried her in the car. Like we had to get a car to take her to hospital. So those were the lowest moments, seeing her like, she was so full of life, she wanted to enjoy life, but things were getting in the way. Those were the lowest moments, and also watching her sister, looking at her. You see, her sister was used to having a role model, a rock. But now she's even weaker than her smaller sister. So watching all those things made me break down a lot. What kept me going is that she was so grateful. She kept telling me, Mom, I'm seeing what you're doing. And I really am grateful for you. I see you're doing everything you can. Thank you so much. She kept thanking me and thanking God for me. So it kept me going, wow, you know, sometimes you feel like you're not doing anything, but her words kept me, oh, wow, so she's appreciating, let me keep going. So she's like, Mom, just do what you're doing. Don't worry about me. I'm not questioning you, and I trust you. And then another thing that keeps me going is her sister, the will to live, had the encouragement, like she's also relying on me for strength. Those are some of the things that keep me going. She was very spiritual, very, very spiritual. In fact, you feel like you're a sinner because all the time, maybe you can be bitter, you can be angry, but her, she's so calm. God is there. You know, when you're panicking, she's like, Mom, don't worry, God is there. So you feel like, gosh, maybe I'm sinning. And then when sometimes she's talking, it's like she's not there. It's like a spirit amemwingia. Like, maybe she was sent to humble us, or I don't know. Like, I'll never understand, but she was very, just an encouragement in my life. Eventually, during this journey of taking now the aspergillosis drugs, she became weaker. Very weak. In fact, at some point, she sought out of social media. She sought out, like, she couldn't make so many movements. The social media thing, she consulted a friend of hers. She's like, why are you not being seen in social media? So she stopped walking because the aspergillosis drugs now damaged her nerves. You see, now we are dealing with another condition. The nerves died, the spine was damaged. So when she told her friend, I stopped walking, then the friend was like, how can you just stop walking? So again, that now you're starting to bembeleza her, you're telling her, no, don't worry. She was so emotional and sensitive. So she was like, me, I'm not going to back to social media. In fact, coincidentally, I don't think it's a coincidence, her phone died. Just died. It couldn't be revived. Someone was telling me these are the signs to know that you're losing somebody. She was wishing that I'm very spiritual. I could have known that. And then during her sickness, now that the nerves have damaged her body, she used to lie down on a chair because she couldn't sit. Even when she sits, she slides down and she really sweats a lot. She was training. So there's a time we weren't staying with my sister. We used to lift her, imagine, with her small sister, to bathe her, to change her. So all these things, like, I think they kept us together. They made us a stronger family. But at the end of the day, she was just deteriorating. And then she got wounds on her legs, very big wounds, from the knee up to the ankle. There's a time I was washing them, they were removing maggots in the wounds. They were not healing. So you're like, you're seeing so much, you're so damaged mentally, you're traumatized. So the journey was just getting worse and worse and worse. Instead of seeing her improving, she's getting worse. And now that she's been diagnosed with GBS, GBS is a condition which kills the immune system. So it brings other, you see, when your immunity is low, you get other conditions. Now that we are told those wounds are diabetes wounds, then you're like, where do we start? Instead of getting better, the drugs are damaging her body. So eventually, she just stopped walking. She was using Pampers. It was too much to see. And even for her, she was so embarrassed when you're changing her. She even used to tell her sister, just go kidogo, Mom, to finish changing me, then you come back. She was just damaged, basically. In fact, funny enough, from that point, like when she was taking the aspergillosis drugs and steroids and everything, she was looking very healthy. In fact, it's ironic. In October 2019, we celebrated her 20th birthday, and we did a very nice photo shoot. She was very healthy. So in a short time, from October to December 2019, she was standing, then her leg inajikunja, then she falls. You're like, then she's saying, I'm okay, I'm okay. Then eventually, from now that December till March when she passed on, she just couldn't stand. She needed support to be held, and eventually she couldn't do anything for herself. So it was a short, everything happened so fast. It was a short interlude that everything happened. Now during that period, we now embraced something different. We are celebrating our birthday, October 2019. We did a photo shoot. In fact, she used to like eating out, doing her nails. It's like she knew she was going because like, do my nails, do my hair. She had a very fancy haircut. So every 2 weeks she needs a new hairstyle. So it's like she's living life. She's so happy. That was up to October. Then I told her, let's do a photo shoot. You're 20, let's celebrate. Then we went out to a restaurant. We went to eat. Hey, between that October and December, things just, her face started swelling. She had odema. Odema is liquid on the legs. Then she was treated for the odema. The liquid was drained out. After that, now the legs are kunjikaring. She can't stand. They are folding. So she can't stand anymore. So now the whole of December, she was just on the chair. She was confined on the chair. I bought her a big chair to lie down, like to make her at least comfortable. From December 2019 to March, she was just on that chair. No movements. The spine was damaged. In fact, there was a hole. There was a big wound behind the spine. And then the legs, the wounds. It was not easy. And then she just kept smiling. Then there's a time she told me, Mom, now I think it's time to find a distraction. Indirectly, she was saying, I won't be there, you see. So I was like, okay, you know, some things you're just taking them, you don't take it seriously. So between that time, she talked a lot. She said so many things. There's a pastor who came to visit her. And she told us, do you know, she was called Mobese. Mobese is lying there with God. She's with God on that chair. You can't see it, but her, she's seeing it. Then you're like, you see these things you're not taking. You're like, oh, okay. You don't understand what they are meaning. But I think in the journey we are being prepared that she won't be there. So this is ringing a bell later. Like, oh, okay, that's why her phone died. That's why, you see, you're just telling yourself, like, this is what it meant. And then it's like, I knew in a way, this one can't come back. Like, how can you start walking after all this? It's like in a way I was accepting to release her, but I didn't want to say it with my mouth that I'm losing her. But in a way, when she went, you just saw her. She's peaceful and she's resting. So we just started looking at the process. Like, I was bitter at some point. I was asking God, see, I could have miscarriaged at least. I could have healed a long time. But watching your child becoming a woman, then just going, she's been plucked out, it was just too painful. But I remembered she kept saying God is there. So I kept not stop being bitter. And then I just started trusting God. In fact, the day before she rested, she held my hand very tightly and it was very cold. But I didn't, as I'm saying, I didn't take some things like, oh, I'm being told something. The day she rested, she was trying to talk. She's trying to catch breath and she's trying to say something. But she couldn't talk. She's just doing, but she's not talking. So that day she rested, it was like 6 a.m. So she took one last breath, a long breath. And her sister was also there. You remember it was the COVID time, we were confined in one place. So we watched her, it was at 6 a.m. Now in that moment, there was a little pulse. So we called, at that time my sister was around, so she's the one who was, at least she was a bit stronger to call the ambulance. Me, I was star-struck. I was staring in the air. I was like, did this just happen? As in, I'm not like accepting what has happened. I'm still on denial, but I'm not crying. I'm just staring around like in the air. So we called an ambulance at 6 a.m., like a few minutes, like after 6. They came. She still had a pulse. He was trying to resuscitate her, but it was in vain. So he just pronounced her dead. He wrote a note. We had to go get a burial permit because you had to get a burial permit at that time. It was in the police station after the burial permit. Now that's when they allowed the heirs to come to collect the body. Now that process from collecting the body to the heirs, I don't know. Something just came over me and I just became so weak. I just like felt like I'm going to die, you know. Now it's a body now wrapped over. It was wrapped with an orange thing, like I don't know how to explain. It's a big cloth. Then they took her out of the house to the heirs. Now they took it to the morgue. Hey, but the process, you can't even explain it. And that time I wasn't even checking. I didn't even know where her sister was. But my mind was just distorted. Hey, it was just stressful. And I didn't even know I'll make it up to this point. Like 2 years later, I didn't know I'd be here. So it's something you can't describe. But it leaves a very big gap. And I don't know if it's a space or a what. It just leaves an emptiness. It really destroyed me. Because she had bigger dreams. By the way, what she kept telling me is that, Mom, I'll build you a big house one day. Every day, like after every month, she reminds me, remember, Mom, I'll build you a big house. She wanted to do a poetry. She was a poet. She used to write poems and post them in her statuses in WhatsApp. We even have that notebook still. And she also wanted to be a TB ambassador, like to speak out to the people. She wouldn't want anybody to go through what she went through. So maybe this is a chance maybe to be her voice, so that people know that TB treatment should not be extended from 6 months. So she had so many dreams. But unfortunately, we watched them, and maybe I just said God has other plans. Because we might plan ourselves, but those are not God's plans. So eventually, just take life easy and don't make our plans. Okay, you can plan, like today I walked from here to there. But 10 years later, only God knows what He's planning for you. What's encouraging and knowing that I did my best is that she also acknowledged it. She kept reminding me, Mama, I'm seeing your efforts, and never blame yourself. In fact, she was encouraging me more than I was encouraging her. So I was like, wow. So I kept being motivated, and also just appreciating the fact that she appreciates me. And that's how I felt like I did my best. Because she acknowledged it every day, every other day. She used to thank God for me. She used even to tell me like I should take care of her sister, stuff like that. So it's like she gave me her blessings in a way. So that's what keeps me going, to see what God has in store for me and her sister. My life changed a lot because I must admit I had a lot of fear. Every time my daughter is sleeping, I check whether she's breathing. And sometimes I call her. She's called Faith, to see if she'll respond, Yes, now my second born. She's called Faith. She's 13 years. So it caused a lot of fear. And then I kept imagining, like, there's a cat which used to visit us. I find it funny, but it's actually, it used to open the door for itself. Like, have you ever seen that? So I felt like maybe Mobese is visiting her in a way. Okay, I think they're hallucinations. And then there's a time, what's encouraging is there's a time she appeared in my dream and she told me, I'm happy where I am and I am like queen. She mentioned a queen like the Bible. So she assured me like she's happy. So those are the things that keep me going. And then there's sometimes it's kind of scary and calm at the same time. Faith sounds like Mobese. She talks like her, you're like, is that Mobese, But it's like she's still there, she's still with us. Because you can't throw away the memories, she'll still be there. Because at the same time, people used to tell me like to give out her clothes, but you can't erase the memories. And Faith is still a girl, she can still wear those clothes. So she's still with us. That's what I believe. And maybe at some point we needed a guardian angel, I don't know. So I'm trying to look at life in a positive way, exactly, especially to look after my mental health and Faith's mental health, just encouragement. This affected Faith very negatively. In the beginning, it was very negative for her. Because at school, there's a time a teacher called me for a meeting. She was like, hey, Faith has changed. They actually hadn't known this, so I had to reveal it at that time. She's staring in class. She's not mingling with other students. Like she's concentrating. The other time she's just out. Her mind is not there. Then she's not social. She's excluding herself. Then there's a time she was looking for clothes. She was so angry. She's throwing clothes. Now my sister is not here. Who will help me choose clothes, you know? So it was affecting her. I thought she would lose it. But eventually, she started praying and I got so comforted. She says sometimes her sister talks to her, but I don't want to tell her, stop imagining things. You know, as part of the healing, let her heal in her own way. Maybe she feels that's the way she's connecting to her sister. So she's saying that's how she became calm, plus she prays a lot. And she's saying also God comforts her. So at this time, she's a bit more peaceful. In fact, she's to sit for her class 8 in March. So she's very ready. She's taking life very calmly. It's not easy. We usually talk and confide in each other. She says it's not easy, but she's thankful that we have each other. And she actually, her wish is for God to come for us together, like nobody to die before the other one. So those are the things that keep her going. It's such a blessing, and sometimes I feel like I pressurize her. Like I don't want her to fall sick, like really. And I always tell her, I don't want to lose you, you know, like. So I'm trying not to put so much pressure on her and take her as a person. Because at the same time, Mobese had her life and she can't be Faith and Faith can't be Mobese. So I want her to find herself. Who is Faith? Let's now dwell on Faith. At the end of the day, we might mention Mobese when we hear some songs she used to listen to. But I accept her as Faith, not wanting her to be as Mobese. So we are going through that process slowly. We started doing things together, like we started a TikTok just for distractions. You see, video confined, we had to do something together. We like dancing together, singing. I just kept her mind distracted. And she's also a runway model. She can do commercial. So sometimes we did mother and daughter shoot for a fashion house. Those are the things that I want to keep her mind distracted. Like she has a life also to live instead of dwelling like Mobese. We just decided to let her go, to release her. We let her go, but she's still in our hearts. I feel it's important for me to talk about this journey because I want to be Mobese's voice. Because she wanted to be a TB ambassador, and I want to impact lives, to inspire others also going through maybe a tough time, and to educate them mostly about TB because she wanted to be a TB ambassador. And at the same time, I feel like the more you talk about it, the more you heal. It's just a healing process. So it's helping to talk it out. You feel a bit, at least a weight has been lifted off. But mostly I want to impact mothers. We go through a lot of, some mothers go through a lot, some fathers also are single fathers, and parents in general. And even the children, some children at this state have a lot of mental issues. So I want to encourage them to just take care of their health. And when you see alarming signals, take action at that time. So I want to encourage people, inspire them, let them know like people are going through hard times. But it's only that we can't go talking in the road. Hey, you know, I lost a daughter. They might assume that I'm happy, I'm comfortable. At the same time, don't judge somebody. Be easy when you're walking in somebody's lives because some wounds are not visible. At this point, I think I wouldn't do the blame game because some people are advising me to sue the doctors, but I think that would be draining. And at the same time, I tell myself she's not coming back. If she would come back, I would start a process of suing the doctors. But it's not worth it. Most people blame the medics, but I just say one word. I let God avenge. He knows what exactly transpired. And if anybody did damage to her, God is going to avenge. That's all I just have to do. Because this is not the time to point fingers. It will damage me, it will damage Faith. I think Mobese wouldn't have wanted that because she was a very peaceful person. So we are handling it with calmness and just releasing everything to God. Okay, I would like to encourage people going through a lot. In the first place, this life is not yours. Take it that way, that God has you. He knows when you're in the womb, He knows the journey you're to take. So I think you should take it easy because everything revolves around the mental state. You have to take care of your mental state. Have positive thoughts. If you have lost someone, just say it's God's will and His will be done. And every day you should wake up with a prayer. Ask God to show you the way and just take life easy. Be easy. Don't be so hard on yourself. Because at the end of the day, many diseases are caused by stress. It starts just by stress. Then you get depression. Then those are drugs again. So just take care of yourself. Trust God, kabisa. Trust Him with your life completely and seek Him. And don't trust people so much because they'll fail you. And live a day at a time. You have woken up, you haven't had anything to eat. Tomorrow will be better. You have somebody sick, put them in God's hands and ask God for wisdom. Mostly, I think wisdom rules everything. It will determine the decisions you'll make. For now, I'm pursuing plus size modeling, which I came to love actually. I came to embrace it because it came at a point when I was really seeking something to do. So it would be nice to I work for fashion houses. I can work for brands. Like I can be a face for a product. So I'm seeking to be empowered more so that I can empower faith. You see, it's not at the same time. It's not about me. There's a child looking up to me. So I would pray for that elevation, like for fashion houses to work for them and also like a brand ambassador, and I can host events. So I'm seeking to expand myself also and so that I can elevate faith and others in the journey. You know, my elevation takes like I elevate others. So I'm looking forward to that. Mostly, you can reach me on my Instagram. It's Jams42. That's where you can also see my professional work and some things I do. Sometimes I sort to go to TikTok to just do funny things, just to keep myself distracted. But if you want to see my personality, it's all in my Instagram, Jams42, NJAMBS42. In fact, I always tell myself, I pray that I find my purpose, because we were left with faith here on earth. There must be a purpose why we are still there. I don't want to live a purposeless life. May God reveal that purpose so that we can see we are living for something.